Hello, today I'm going to continue our lesson. I want to apologize for a pause. We need to finalize or at least advance it with project itself, but the advantage that right now we can see more or less the final version of the website. It's not in English language, but we don't care. Just don't pay attention on content. It doesn't. It has no relation to the functionality. In this lessons, I'm going to talk about animation, and specifically for this left side menu. So when we hover, we have there are two animations here, and the main animation that I'm going to address, and this will be only 1/3 of Angular animation. This is showing this sliding bottom panel, but you can see that color is also switching from grayish to its own element. This is a Feng Shui website, and its own color which is related to this element. And it's intentionally so. I would like to say that web animation, it's not restricted to one particular site. There are a lot of ways to implement this, and let's see two of them. But before this, we have too many preprocessors and project that is precompilers that helps us to get the final result in the shortest way. And the one that we use specifically for color animation, this is called Roots. Roots, it's a framework by itself, but having Angular framework, there's not much point to switch to any other framework which is addresses script. But what we can use here, this is CSS, and it's called Axis CSS, and it contains a set of stylus mixins which allow very conveniently to get like nice effects. So for example, in this case we use its functionality, and I will show you. First of all, in order to install it, there is pretty detailed instructions, but it is node mode. So it is, you just install it like you install with Notepad Manager, and I suggest to install it globally, so it will not be restricted to the local project. But then, depending on which task manager you use, as you know, and you can conclude from previous lessons that we switch it from Grunt to Gulp, it is required to install it in Gulp. And I will open my build file, and you can see that we have our stylus which compiles our stylus to CSS. And in order to use this, so first of all, we need to implement express node Axis CSS, and after we implement it, it is possible to specify in stylus pipe that we want to use nib, and it is shown how to use it in Svetlana's tutorial. And through a comma, it is possible to specify that in addition to nib, it also will be used access. what will happen during compilation if you use some mixins of axes, it will be replaced in final CSS. And if we take a look on the styles, this is one of our element, and we can see on there are several elements, and let's take a fire, the first one, and we're talking now only about transition of colors, so it comes from grayish to the reddish one. What happens that we implement a style, and you can see fire, and this fire is applied to that element, and we're just saying that I wrote this mixin about transition, and probably I tried to, so transition, this is CSS3 styles, and CSS3 styles requires vendor prefixes. So for each type of browser compiler, we need to use prefixes, like for WebKit, for Mozilla, for Internet Explorer, for Opera, and other type of browsers. I tried to do it specifically with transition, but somehow, probably, I don't know, maybe it's in CSS. Even if I open CSS styles, it will be friend element CSS, the web store itself is just telling me that W3 property, this transition doesn't exist, but it's not true. And if I remove this this is vendor prefixes, it wouldn't work. I tried to implement several gulp plugins in order to make it correctly automatically, but I didn't succeed. So the easiest way, I wrote my own directive, my own mixins, sorry, and it's very easy mixin. So whenever I have a transition, and inside braces, I can specify its duration, so it will transfer color during this n period, n seconds. And if I change it, for example, for higher, for 5, it will be very long animation, because I custom it to WebKit. Up, so you can see that very slowly it starts to be reddish, in reddish color. And this is about transition, and it is required for CSS3 animation. And let's set it back to 1 second. And then I specify that it's background color, because the next property and this property hover color, this is mixin that is written by axis, and this mixin requires to be a background color to be explicitly specified. So it wouldn't work if it doesn't have this property, and default inheritance doesn't work in this case. Definitely I specify, I create a color variable in order to have possibility to change in one place in case customers would want to change color. And this mixin hover color, what it does, that it does this effect, and probably it is only background color. Maybe it's not very difficult to write the own CSS style, but still it's shorter, and it's definitely much easier to correct. I do not need to specify like hover parameter, and in my case give it a try. So I promise that it will be the last improvement, the last third-party package, or at least I hope so, that in order but this is worthwhile to invest your time in learning that project. And this is about animation, about color transition, but the main topic of this tutorial is talking about Angular animation. And there are a couple of hassles. If you start to search for ng-animate, you will get to the site which actually comes ng-animate, something like this, and here is the third site. But if you get here and start to read about its CSS, pay attention on the version, because it's version 1.15, and as you know, and in my previous tutorial I specified this, that Angular changed their approach to animation, switched it to class based approach. So this doesn't work, and I remember when I just learned it, I just scratched my head and didn't know what to do, why it doesn't work if you implement it. So probably it looks like it is managed by Angular team, or at least I guess they have to take it out or update this information. This is a pitfall that you should avoid, and in order to make Angular animation works, so it's starting from 1.2, it was separated in its own module, and you need to implement it. If you are not installed, you need to install it with Bower from terminal. It's pretty detailed on their site, it's pretty detailed information, and with ng-animate it is possible to include it with probably with Google CDN, because it doesn't have its restrictions like Angular base project has. But I prefer just install it with Bower, and it will be managed automatically. And after you install it with Bower, it will be when you build with your project with your task manager, it will be included in index.html, and probably this is animate, and here it is. So you need to have it in your home page included, like JavaScript library. You need to include its module, and then there are three ways to create animation, and we will take a look on all of them. I start with the first one. This is the probably easiest and fastest way to do animation. It is not the most capable way, and it has some kind of redundant syntaxes, but at least there is, for simple animation, it works well. And first of all, when you take a look on your site, or when you develop and you plan what the final animation look like, it is like required to clusterize. What is it? Because in this case is ng-show, ng-hide. So I want this panel to be hidden, but when I mouse over this element, I want it to be shown. And definitely this element, it's a separate directive, and this is included it without directive, it's a pretty big mistake. So I specify a directive, and let's take a look at its indexes. So it is, because it is widget type of directive, it is restricted like elements, replace true. We will take a look at its template URL, and I inject with this directive two one-way data binding. So first of all, it is element class, and if you take a look at the final product, you can see that we have a pretty standard grayish color, and then depending on element on which you hover, the color is different. I choose it, instead of specifying color with ng style, I choose specify a separate class, and then inside of directive I it is possible, I don't know, do ng class, but class will work, and then I will just paste the class name which I inject when I use this directive, and this is directive inside of directive, and the hosting directive, it's called elements now, and you can see when I'm using this directive, this is a title, this is what will be an element name, and I also specify a class. And in our stylus element, I have a separate class, and here in this class I specify background color and also this transition. I'm not saying that this is the probably most optimal way, but it's good enough, and because I have 8 elements and I'm using one directive, and I use several classes. Another way would be to use inline styles and specify explicitly its background color, but then it will be just pretty difficult to implement this color transition. So I think that this is a pretty good approach. And then the most important information here, that on element cover, first of all, it is its show height element. It is controlled by the scope variable is info shown, and inside my directive I find the first element of div inside of directive. Probably alright. I don't use it. Okay, I can delete it, because there is no point. There is scope. There is not. No, I'm using hover scope apply. Okay, yeah. This was just my experimentation. I can delete it, because there is not much point to find the div inside element and take the first one, because it will be the element itself, and so we can safely delete this line. And then I'm using hover, and when I hover, I set this variable to true, and when I the first function will be executed when mouse over, and the second function will be when the user hover his mouse out of the element. And because we use this jQuery approach, however, in order to Angular framework knows that something happens, we need to wrap it inside a scope apply, and that is why I'm using scope apply. But this is because inside of directive I need to use jQuery element, and that's it. And after we manage to show height, we can define a class. So and this class is called slide up. And what happens that during hiding of this element, I put this element just below this initial div. So if we take a look on our in our JTemplate, fan element, this is the element, and fan element cover, which will go on the top of it, they are located one after another. And inside of element wrapper, I set it to the size of to the height of this. It has the height the same like fan element, and overflow hidden. It means that everything that is beyond his limits will be hidden. In this case, it's covered. But when I will show this element, I will set top position and position relative to the minus, and in this case, because I specified height and width like variables, I just divided height by 80 pixel, and it will be something like about 30. And that's it. So I specify what's going to be initial. I specified its transition and position relative. Position relative, do not forget to include it, because otherwise your animation wouldn't work, especially because position relative must be specified when we change left, right, if you are going to slide to the left, to the right, or top, bottom, if you are going to slide from the bottom or from the up. And when we are hiding, we put element to its normal position, whereas top is equal to 0. It means it goes down, and it will be beyond our fan element wrapper, and because it has property overflow hidden, the user wouldn't be able to see it. Yeah, and this is animation, and it works well. And this is the first type. It's called CSS transition. And on the next tutorial, we will talk about CSS animation. Happy coding! Thank you.